calling me, like the rainbow, like the rainbow. It's calling me, like the rainbow, the rainbow.
Good morning, Pasi from Pasiflooring and our chairman of the South African Laminate and Wood Flooring Association. Thank you so much for joining us here on our impromptu online flooring expo. Thank you so much for joining us in these tough times.
Hi, Barry. Thank you for having me. I am glad I'm here. Maybe we can share some stories and see what's happening in the industry.
Pasi, I mean, obviously the retail, the flooring retail and installer community, we're all hurting really badly right now. What have been some of your thoughts during lockdown around the implications of this whole COVID crisis on the flooring industry?
Yeah, I think to understand the full impact, you need to understand the structure of the industry. You find that this industry is in layers. You have got the formal side, which is your big guys, the importers. Then you've got the middle area, which is your retailers and the retail installers. Then you have got what we prefer to call the back brigade, which is the guy right at the bottom, which is sort of like the informal section of the industry. So you find that the retailers are suffering because their money comes in as they install. They don't have a lot of reserves because our industry, it's still really growing. It's not as established as you would see in Europe and all that. And most of the businesses are a bit small. So the moment they lose some form of income, it hits them directly in the pocket because most of them don't have, that backup financing from institutions, from banks and all that. So it is a crisis, and it is in more of a crisis in the informal section of the industry. The guy that owns his bakkie and that is business, it has hit those guys very, very seriously. So we understand the government has put in some funding mechanisms, but unfortunately, it's not going to benefit the guy that drives his bakkie and gets subcontracted and all that. So it is going to be hectic. And as an industry, we are very, very worried about it.
I've been seeing that. Obviously, I engage with industry on all levels, and my heart really goes out to the informal trade, where it's a lot more hand to mouth. As the money comes in, it goes straight into petrol to keep the car going, food on the table. The rates that the installers are getting is being pushed to smaller and smaller amounts. And, being for a month and potentially longer without income, it's horrible. And, if there's any way that we can rally as maybe a bit more of the professional sector of the industry to try and support these guys. I don't know how, and I don't have the answers, but my heart is crying inside for them.
Most of our guys are guys that live hand to mouth. And that is the biggest challenge. And what we are planning to do is to see how we can assist them as soon as the lockdown goes down. We probably get the formal sector to get together and see if we can look at some pricing option. But as you know, this is discretionary, really. We cannot force players to make that call. And you were so right, Barry, when you were speaking about prices. The margins for the installer are very tight.
Yeah.
Because most of the importers are wanting to push products. So what that does, it tends to hit on the smaller guys. But it's something that we are working on so that everyone gets to have a fair margin throughout the food chain, from the importer to the final installer. So it is something that is work in progress. You understand, like any business, everyone is out to make some money. Yeah. And at times it calls for that goodwill for the industry to actually grow exponentially from the top to the bottom.
But in tough times, people retract and they cut off various what they believe as non-essential expenditure or outlay, and even from the importers who are have got stock coming in for high season, and they're having to pay manufacturers. They've got full warehouses, and the sales aren't occurring, and that stock is just building up. It's compounded in so many different levels and layers that I don't think there's an easy solution at the moment, and that the repercussions thereof are scary, because we've got some great installers out there, some really the salt of the earth, are skilled craftsmen, and how do we protect them?
That's going to be always the question, because we cannot gazette a price.
No, we can't.
And right now, our corporate members, our importers, are under a lot of pressure. I think at the last check, the rand is close to 18. I think it had actually breached 19 at some point. So obviously, whatever stock they have right now, technically it has got to be repriced, because if they sell it at old price, they will not be able to replace that stock. But the impact now, again, goes down to the installer, because he cannot increase his prices that much. So it's going to put a lot of pressure on everyone, really, because we don't expect the importers, the wholesalers, to drop their prices, because they've got to remain afloat. And if the installer increases his installation price, that price is going to be beyond the reach of most of the clients. So it's a catch-22, You do your damned, you don't your damned. So.
And Pasi, would you mind sharing a bit more of the kinds of work you and your team do at Pasiflooring?
Pasiflooring, basically, we provide what we call a 10-key solution, because we are retail installers. So what we have done is position ourselves as a link, a bridge between the importers, the designers, and the clients. So when you are dealing with us, you have got options. We can supply and install for you. The advantage of that is you then have to deal with only one person instead of dealing with a designer, deal with a deal with a supplier, then deal with an installer. In this case, you deal with one company. Your project is managed from one point. That's the first advantage. It takes the hassle out of you. The second advantage is that your guarantees or warranties are in one place. When there's a problem with an installation, which will happen more often than not, you don't have to look for the supplier who will tell you that the problem is the installer, or look for the installer who will tell you that the problem is the supplier. You only, you only deal with one person. This is what we have structured ourselves with, and it's a very successful model, because then we are having designers as our source of clients, other than the other direct sources that come through us. We are having suppliers as sources as well of clients, because we make it easy for everyone. Because the supplier will be comfortable that their product is being installed within the correct specifications and within the correct guidelines, as the SAWALFA guidelines, and it's going to be professionally managed, because I am involved directly with every project. So this is how we operate. And this model, we find that it works very well. And it also helps to cushion us in terms of the margins we were talking about. Because then if you are supplying and installing, you can then have something from the product and something from the installation that actually helps you to get by much better. So that basically is our operating model.
Pasi, what kind of flooring types do you cover? Internal, external? If you can just go through some of your variety.
That's a very interesting question, Barry, because I want to say this with reservations. I tend to be corrected, but I'm one of the few companies that are actually comfortable with both internal and external, because we do internal floors, that's your solid wood parquet. Then the more popular laminates and your click vinyls. But what makes us unique as well is we are quite good at the old style designs. You know, your fishbone, herringbone, Rhodesian teak, and all the other solids over and above the engineered, right? Then externally, we do decking. And our decking is done so professionally to very high levels, because I've got a technical engineering background myself, other than the management side of things. So it's like sort of getting the best of both worlds in essence. So we also do restorations, by the way. You know, your old parquet,
Yes, lovely.
we resend it, relay it, and just restore it in general. So that's what you get when you deal with us.
With regards to sulfur, what does sulfur have planned going forward into 2021 on how it's going to support the industry and continue to grow our infrastructure within that association?
As you know, I took over as chairman about 2 years ago. And what we have been doing, firstly, was to try and bring Sawalfa to at par with international standards. So one of the things that we have done over the past year is that we have actually launched an app, the Sawalfa app. I'm sure you've probably heard of it, where we basically want to put information in the hands of the installers. We have done an upgrade, by the way. It's now accessible to the public through your iStore, what do you call it? App Store on Android and Google Play Store as well. The idea is to make sure that our market has got access to information and expected standards so that they can hold our installers accountable, because now they will be speaking from a position of knowledge. So this is one of the things that we have done. The second thing that we are also working on is to bring in more associate members. By associate members, I mean those guys that are suppliers to the flooring industry, so that we can also be in control of the quality that comes into the industry. We are speaking of the adhesives that are used in the industry. We are speaking of the sealers, that's your varnish or oils, if you want to call it. Professional, we call them sealers and oils. And we are also speaking of even the accessories used, you know, like your sanding services and all that. So all these things are designed, or rather all these initiatives are designed to try and bring the quality of the industry to an even higher level. So going into 21, what we are hoping for, into 2021, what we are hoping for is, number one, we need to increase our membership. And that's going quite well, because we have started initiatives to approach especially the associate members. Number two, we need to increase our educational capabilities in terms of public education. As you know, we are already doing 2 to 3 training sessions a year. That's Joburg, Durban, Cape Town. So that side of things we are continuously doing, and we are keeping our syllabi very up to date, in line with the international standards, but however, customized for the South African environment.
I know that from, obviously it's something that Flooring Africa is very passionate about, is sharing the technical knowledge base with the community so we can uplift the industry from the roots.
On that, I've got to commend you, because the synergy that we have created with you, you can actually see it online on the internet. There's that visibility between yourself and us, and our goal, as you know, is to improve the skills. And I must give kudos to you as well, because you are basically filling in the other gap that we are not able to.
It's a community and an industry that works together. I don't think it can come from any one industry or player. I think it's how we all unite from a multifaceted approach, and we unify to uplift, for sure.
That is the idea. And if we can have more of these, because you see, the only way this industry is going to survive is if we have an educated market. Because right now there's a lot of influx of what I call gray imports, products that are coming that are not controlled, that we as SAWAFA don't even know of. And the clients are falling into that. And they spend quite a lot of money on a floor, and a year down the line, they're having problems. And those are some of the things that we need the market to know. We need the public to know, so that they can make wise investments and wise decisions. Because as you know, cheap is always expensive.
And Pasi, as a closing thought, we'd love to hear your words of wisdom to installers and retailers who might be listening to this episode at the Expo on what you'd like to advise people to think about or do about now that we're in this crisis and hopefully at some point moving forward.
My thoughts, and it's also a life principle, is that never take shortcuts with anything. You will find that the businesses that are going to survive, the installers that are going to survive post-COVID and all that, are the guys that are going to be consistent in terms of quality. And this also applies even to the importers. Those that are going to continuously bring in quality products are going to survive, because there's going to be a temptation to go for the cheaper product on the part of importers, and to cut corners on the part of installers. But that will be the quickest way to shutting down your business, because now money is tight. So clients are going to be a bit more demanding in terms of quality standards and quality products. So if you are going to supply an inferior quality product or provide an inferior quality installation, the challenge is that you are going to make your money for the first 6 months. Then you are not going to make anything after that period, because you start to deal with comebacks. You will close business. So my advice right now is, this is the time to up the game in terms of quality standards, in terms of product quality.
That is absolutely beautiful, an absolute clanger. Pasi from Pasiflooring, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate your contribution. And you know that Flooring Africa is there to support SAWAFA in its endeavors to educate our flooring industry and uplift. Thank you for all of your hard work that you are going through, that you've done, and all the best for post-COVID. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Barry. And keep doing what you're doing. It's good. We will continue to support this initiative, and call on us whenever you need us. We will be there, because we believe that the only way to eradicate hunger and also to play our part in the employment sector, we need to work together to educate and train potential guys that will play a role in the flooring industry. So thank you guys. Keep doing what you're doing, and thank you for giving me this opportunity.